let you in on a little secret here. The hidden gem of Southeast Asia is right here, the Philippines. My favorite of all countries that I've traveled to. It is some of the most beautiful landscapes and the most incredible. Now, before you start taking advice from a random stranger, I want to give you a bit of my background. My name is Christian LeBlanc, and I've spent the last 2 years traveling Southeast Asia. And with that, I've spent about 3 months of it in the Philippines. It's a country I plan to revisit very soon. Let's get started with the countdown. Number 10 is Boracay. Boracay is easily one of the most all of the Philippines, and with that, it can get pretty busy sometimes. Now, that can be a good thing, that can be a bad thing. The great thing is, you can guarantee you can find some relatively discount ones too, so budget shouldn't be too much of an issue here. The nightlife is pretty good, and the food selection is great. Boracay has everything from low-end hostels all the way up to extreme luxury hotels. It can be backpacked, but definitely expect to spend a bit more money here. The island of Boracay itself is extremely beautiful. Some of the bluest waters you'll see, and some of the finest outgrown the infrastructure at least 10 times over, and this can lead to a lot of congestion. But you're going to spend most of your time on the beach anyway, so what does that matter? Number 9. Oslop is extremely well known for one thing, and that is the whale sharks. This is a place where you can actually go and swim right next to these gentle beasts. Now, there is a little bit of controversy that surrounds this because the whale sharks are fed, but I'll leave that up to your discretion. It's such a humbling experience swimming next to an animal that could literally grow as large as a small. There's a couple sets of waterfalls. Tumalog is the most impressive of the two. It's a massive drop off that creates a beautiful mist. Now, if you're looking for more of an experience with the waterfalls, check out Aguinid Waterfalls because you can actually scale up them, you can jump off of them. It's much more interactive than just looking at a waterfall like you do at Tumalog. It's definitely worth a visit. Number 8 on my list is Malapascua. It's very unlikely that you've heard of this place before, but there's a great reason to go, and it's this one animal that lives below the sea. It's very unlikely you've ever heard of this place, but Malapascua is home to one of the most beautiful creatures I've ever seen, the thresher shark. If you're a scuba diver, this is a must. There is no fish more impressive than the thresher shark. It has Malapascua 100% worth it. Now, the dive scene is incredible, but it's not the only thing. Malapascua Island itself is extraordinarily beautiful. Again, if you haven't already noticed the trend, extremely blue water, fine white sand beaches, and relatively expensive accommodations. So this definitely has to be something that you save up for. It's a very small island, and all the accommodations on the island are quite expensive. Do a little research. We even managed to find a bit of nightlife on this incredibly dormant island. My girlfriend Laura really hit it off with the locals. If you know anything about the Philippines, you'll probably be shocked that I put El Nido in 7th place. El Nido is easily one of the most beautiful places in the Philippines, and arguably the world. The beauty of this place. The 4 island tour is incredible because it lets you see the cerulean blue waters, the jagged cliff sides. It's seriously earth-torn. It's nothing like you've ever seen before. The days in El Nido are unforgettable because you'll spend your entire day hanging around these beautiful landscapes. But this is where the problems start. When night hits, it becomes a bit less enjoyable, I'd say. El Nido's electrical grid is archaic at best. When we backpacked, we spent at least half of our nights in darkness. And worse than the dark, we spent it without any fan or air conditioning. It gets extremely hot in the Philippines, and when the power goes out, I become a pretty unhappy camper. In addition to this, if you're planning to do anything like I do as a YouTuber, uploading is basically a no-go. The internet speeds are so slow, and it will drive you mad. Now, there are some ways you can get around these inconveniences. If you spend a lot more money, you can actually stay at accommodations that will have backup generators, and this will at least help take care of the problem of your air conditioning going out, so you won't sweat to death at night. I want to end this on a positive note because despite all the inconveniences of El Nido, the beauty of this place makes it all worth it, so you have to go check it out. If you end up going, make sure you do the 4 island tour, and make sure you find Tara Cliff if you're willing to risk your life. It's extremely jagged, but the view you get is unforgettable. The next on my list is Bohol. Bohol is a large and magical island. Go around with locals. That's how we find some of the cool hidden gems, like this little hole in the ground. No pun intended. With Bohol being a big island, you could easily spend 5 to 10 days here. The most popular of the beaches is Alona Beach, and this is a place where you can stay at a 5-star hotel or at a guest house or hostel. The pricing is definitely on the expensive end, but nothing unreasonable. Also a must in Bohol is to rent a scooter. Some of the most incredible riding I've ever done has been done here on this island. You take the scooter, you drive up further north from Alona Beach, and you'll end up visiting these guys. These are tarsiers, animals only found in Bohol. They basically sit like this all day, but what more could you ask for? I mean, just look at him. He's chilling. Monday, am I right? Also worth mentioning, I did go up further north to Anda Beach, and although I liked Anda, I didn't love it. I found it a bit of a dirty beach. For me, I would have preferred to have stayed in Alona Beach, rented a scooter, and used it to do day trips like seeing the Tarsiers, the Chocolate Hills, etc. You'll also see a lot of European-inspired churches while exploring the Philippines. This one here was built by the Spanish, and it was actually shook up during an earthquake a few years ago. Just after visiting the Tarsiers, you're going to see the man-made forest. And true to its name, it's a forest that was actually hand-planted by men. It's a really awesome feeling because as you drive down this narrow road, you feel like you're going through a tree tunnel. It's great for Instagram goals, and it's definitely an awesome feeling as you're riding on your scooter. After the man-made forest, about another 35-45 minutes up north, you'll be going through what some people deem the main attraction of Bohol. These are the Chocolate Hills, and you'll notice they look extremely similar to a Hershey Kiss. I don't know if that's why they've been called that, but the name is definitely fitting. You can drive up to the top of one of the hills and actually get a pretty good vista of the entire mountain range. I definitely recommend it. Number 5 is a place that's on very few people's lists. Dumaguete is an incredible place, and there's a lot to see and do here. It's a place I've spent almost 2 weeks scuba diving and exploring its beautiful nature. If you go to Dumaguete, check out Casaroro Falls. I know I'm probably butchering it, but I'll write it down below. Right across from Dumaguete is a short boat ride to Apo Island. Make sure you check out this place. Apo Island translates into English as Turtle Island, and it's well named because everywhere you go is serious bro. There's sea turtles everywhere, and these chillers are used to having people around, so they don't mind when you swim up next to them. Just make sure not to touch them. This is by no means in Dumaguete, but this is one of the must bar. I call this place the Maldives of the Philippines. It's about a 2 to 3 hour drive to get here from Dumaguete, but every single minute of the ride is worth it. Once you arrive at a little dock, you take a boat across about 45 minutes, and you arrive in paradise. If you have that extra time, or you want to take your Instagram to a whole nother level, you better check out Manjoyud Sandbar. Those are just a few of the things you can do in Dumaguete. There's some nightlife, there's great restaurants, and a whole lot of nice hotels and resorts. This is a place for anyone on any budget. Number 4, almost on the podium, but not quite, Kawasan Falls, also known as Barian Canyoneering. Now, before I even get into this, if you're not too afraid of heights and you're not afraid to get wet, this is one of the coolest things that you can do in the Philippines. It's a full day trip where you're guided through these very narrow crevasses where the water flows down, creating these awesome little waterfalls. It's such a unique and amazing experience that you really can't find that many places in the world. I brought my expensive slow motion camera in a lousy waterproof housing. I risked it for you guys. You're welcome. Barian Canyoneering is a guided expedition, and you cannot do this alone. By law, you need to have a guide, and I highly recommend it anyways. You would not want to do this alone. It's not too expensive. From my memory, it's about $30 US. You get a guide, and he shows you through the canyons, he pushes you off the cliffs, and you even get a meal out of it, so it's not too bad. At the end of the canyon is the world-renowned Kawasan Fall. This waterfall literally looks like the exit to the Gatorade factory. The water is this weird fluorescent blue that looks like it should be bottled and sold to people at a very high price. The water is quite cold, so it's a very nice refreshing break after a long day of jumping through canyons. Now I must mention that when this was filmed, I was actually one of the last groups to have gone through the Barian Canyon in quite some time, and I'm not even sure if they've reopened. The municipal government shut it down because they were worried about erosion, so do a little research. Hopefully it's reopened because it is one of the top things to do in the Philippines. Also, random insert, you'll see roosters everywhere in the Philippines. Cockfighting is basically a national sport. My name's in red. The bronze medal goes to my favorite landscape in the entire world. This beach is seriously heaven, and I don't use that word lightly. It is my favorite, and I'm honestly blown away that to this day, Nakpan has not been developed as a resort town. This is the most incredible landscape that I've ever seen. Now, if you remember, we talked about El Nido being in 7th or 6th place. Well, Nakpan is about a 45-minute scooter ride away from El Nido. So again, if you were on the edge of going to El Nido, consider this. You will get Nakpan and El Nido together because they're only a scooter ride away from each other. The problem with Nakpan is this. Because it's such a beautifully untouched landscape, there's nothing on it. There's really only a couple guest houses with which they have no electricity after a certain hour. I think it's after 6 p.m. You have two options. You can either rough the heat and stay in a very basic guest house on one of the most beautiful beaches in the entire world, or you can just rent a scooter from El Nido and drive back to your hotel. This island here is my silver medal. It's probably my favorite island in the entire world, and it's easily the best island in the Philippines. It is the definition of exploring, getting lost, and seeing things that few others have ever seen before. Bantayan Island is basically like Boracay before Boracay blew up. It has the beauty that will one day become a developed area, but for right now, this is a place that you can experience to yourself. There's so much to do here, from exploring the jungle to exploring the beautiful beach that surrounds the entire island. Really check out the mangroves. They're these little trees that grow on the water. Go explore the other side of the island where there's literally no identifiable landmarks. Just beautiful untouched nature and so many kids just playing on the side of the road. Definitely say hi to them. They really appreciate it and they're a lot of fun to hang out with. I joined a few kids in playing some basketball and it was definitely one of the highlights to my day. It wouldn't be a perfect island experience without a perfect sunset, and Bantian certainly has a lot of them. In fact, the Philippines has plenty of them. I don't think I've seen more beautiful sunsets in my entire life. You really start to take them for granted because every single night you get a sunset that could easily be one of the most beautiful you've ever seen. Now, I don't want to call it the winner because everyone's a winner now. It's really not the easiest of places to get to. It's pretty far north. In fact, it's even farther north than El Nido. It's more inaccessible than El Nido, and it can definitely be a bit of an expensive place to visit because it's so inaccessible. You either take like a 5-hour ferry from El Nido, or you can fly directly from Manila. Definitely expect to pay top dollar because the flights aren't cheap. This is not a cheap place to go. Now it's time to show you why you're willing to spend your money to come here and why you're willing to deal with the inconvenience of getting here. Coron is simply out of this world. I can't compare it to anything, to be honest. It's like New Zealand and Africa had a baby, and it was beautiful. As always, my favorite thing to do is rent a scooter. It's the first thing I do whenever I get to a new place. Get a scooter, go explore this island. You will be blown away. Now, I must say that the roads we took on our scooters were basically like off-roading. There was some very loose gravel, some huge rocks that we were driving over, but the feeling of exploring where few have explored before was so worth it. Similar to Bohol, they have mountains that look like the Hershey Kisses. When we drove down this road, we probably didn't see tourists for the entire day. This might sound scary to some of you, but it's one of the most amazing things. The local Filipino people are some of the friendliest and most accommodating people. Definitely don't take that as a bad thing. It's an incredible feeling of truly getting lost in a place that you've never been before. Now, after exploring the rural side of Coron for the day, we went to the more touristy spots. There's these beautiful hot springs where people generally come for sunset. If you come here around 5 p.m., you can definitely expect to see tons of other travelers. It's a really cool way to meet people. The next day, my girlfriend and I and a couple of friends rented kayaks and we went and kayaked all the way across to a set of islands. Now, I don't know if I recommend the kayaking because it truly was a very, 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 very difficult workout, but it's good to stay in shape while traveling, so maybe this is the best option for you. There's also the option to do island tours similar to an El Nido, so maybe check that out if you